Well, better late than never, happy birthday Sonic. And as a result, it's been about almost 2 weeks ago since when this happened, so, but I thought to myself, yeah, it's about time to able to actually go back into Sonic Frontiers, because after all, like I said before, that the uploading schedules this time around though for Sonic Frontiers, which is going to be every Tuesdays and Thursdays basically. So because of this though, yeah, we'll talk more details about that as soon as we're able to skip for those a lot of notifications around here, including some of these new challenges we can able to experience, in addition to new Cocos, and pretty much everything for the doubt. That basically about the fact that, as you can tell, we've somehow managed to get ourselves our yet another costume. So it's a perfect timing too, that after all about the fact that we've already experienced 4 islands in a game so far, so this is now the 5th island that we can now able to go across into. So, hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, aka the Blue Blur, aka Blue Justice, and I am from the likes of the Mexi Toys videos, as you probably expect at this point in time. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Sonic Frontiers for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, PC Steam, and finally the Nintendo Switch. So last time, we've essentially managed able to, well, what I should say is about the fact that we basically done not only Chaos Island to able to take down the forms of the 3rd Titan in the game, known as Knight, and as a result, that was actually quite a cool fight. In addition to that, we also managed able to experience the 4th island in the game, known as Huia Island, and yeah, that island is pretty short, especially noticeable. There's not much else content, aside from the fact that there are occasional music notes that we can able to pick up, well, aside from the fact that they're actually out up to our jukebox feature. So as a result, not much else to explain about that particular island in mind. So today, for this video is about the fact that we're about to be able to get started by simply able to experience the 5th and, potentially speaking, the final island in the game, assuming of course about the fact that we're still practically waiting for the 3rd and final free DLC as of now. So, relatively speaking though about the fact that here we go on to our Ouranos Island, I think is what it says anyway. I apologize for that particular mispronunciation of that particular island's name, by the way, because let's face it, it's been about roughly 6 days ago since I actually have last played this game for sure, because obviously about the fact that I've recently already taken care of the Forms of Sonic Origins Plus video out of the way, so just in case we could able to actually show you guys some bit of content here and there. So as a result of that kind of stuff though, that probably explains it. So, and recently about the fact that you know that both Mario and Luigi have both finally managed able to finish their Let's Play of Mario Super Sluggers, and surprisingly enough, a lot of people seem to able to really enjoy our playthrough of Mario Super Sluggers potentially, because obviously for those of you who lived in the UK who hasn't experienced the game yet, well obviously about the fact that that could be a huge opportunity that we actually get ourselves a ton of video views thanks to the Forms of Mario Super Sluggers during that time, and especially noticeable about the fact that maybe it'll continue that fruition. Like, possibly during that time, we can probably do some more Mario Sports titles here and there. Like, I know for the fact that we've already technically done a lot of the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games from, you know, from the beginning all the way up to recent days. So, but either way, though, that's for a topic for later time. So, either way, a few things I want to explain for this point today, and that is about the fact that today's date is of course the 4th of July today, in some cases though in 2023 today. And for those of you who lived in North America, or America in general, happy Independence Day everybody, especially noticeable because, well, I just want to classify for something related to that. So, anyways though, so let's go ahead and deal with another one of those island challenges that we can able to deal with, and in this one right here is about the fact that we need to catch the flying ball, or the falling ball to be more specifically. However, it appears to be kind of in a random spot, because if the actual falling ball to somehow touch the ground, basically though is about the fact that you need to able to activate this thing again. So yeah, it's oftentimes about the fact that it can be pretty luck based at points. So, but when you get the hang of it though, you should be able to actually reveal some more parts of the map, so you can probably potentially able to actually complete that particular task with no issues, assuming of course if you're lucky enough So, either way, that way we should be able to deal with that. So, anyway, and as far as you probably already know, ever since the new forms in yesterday's video, that recently Ray the Flying Squirrel is finally back onto YouTube stuff ever since in Donkey Kong Country Returns with Mighty the Armadillo. And as a result of that kind of stuff though, despite the fact that this time around though Ray the Flying Squirrel is going to be on its own this time around, it's able to actually tackle through the very first RPG Let's Play we are tackling through, which is of course Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, and because of that though, the reason why we're doing that game is because the Nintendo Switch remake is getting closer to its release. So, it feels like a similar trend as the forms of in Pokemon Snap back in 2021. It's able to celebrate the release of the forms of new Pokemon Snap, despite the fact that we no longer have that game anymore, just because of all that, well, continuous Nintendo Switch game support, and especially noticeable about that time about the fact that we finally got ourselves some more titles coming along its way, and especially noticeable about the fact that, potentially speaking, that there's a lot of, like, possibilities that we can possibly try to think about what's next to come for 2023 and 2024, and probably maybe a little bit in 2025. I'm not exactly 100% sure, because I know for a fact that there's going to be some, you know, more leaks and rumors going on at the moment when it comes to the forms of Nintendo Switch 2, but either way though, we shall see what happens in due time, especially noticeable because we're still in the beginning of July after all. So, but either way, there's also another thing I should probably explain about this as well, is about the fact that, do you guys even know about the fact that obviously Fang the Sniper is going to finally make its grand return from the likes of the forms of Sonic Superstars, as we've already expected at this point. However though, that some people seem to say that it no longer calls Fang the Sniper or Knack the Weasel this time around, so instead, that we still get ourselves Fang as the actual nickname, but the actual surname was actually a lot different, which as a result, normally back in the old days, is actually called, you know, Fang the Sniper, alongside with the forms of Knack the Weasel for Western audiences. So as a result, it's now called it Fang the Hunter this time around. So, not exactly sure how they come up with that particular decision, but I guess beggars selves can't be choosers, I suppose. So, either way. So it looks like we actually stumbled across into the next Guardian that we're able to actually just try to take him down. This appears to be known as the Ghost. Yeah, because, you know, we need to able to take care of him. So, I think something tells me we need to get rid of the, we need to do a bit of a side loop onto those specific tower-like objects. And once you've done that for quite a few times, then it actually depletes the actual, the Ghost's health. And keep this in mind, since about the fact that we did somehow awakened the Ghost, that also means about the fact that our rings count is actually slowly draining too. So you need to be fast on this part, because otherwise, if you don't be too fast enough, then obviously your ring counts will start to drain a lot faster than I thought it was. Although potentially speaking of about the fact that one thing I really appreciate about the forms of the actual, the second free update, in regards to the forms of Sonic Frontiers, as you can tell, that basically all of these guardrails, along with dash rings, and pretty much every single balloons and springs, are actually represented with birthday treatment for Sonic. Like, for instance, we've actually stumbled across into Sonic-shaped balloons. As well as that, there are a few occasions where you will come across into Tails' balloons, Knuckles' balloons, and Amy's balloons. So, yeah, that's actually pretty swell. Especially concerning about that particular point where, in addition to that, oh jeez, I'm almost going to be dying to the forms of the Ghost Guardian. But hey, at least we did somehow beat him, no problem. So, and once you defeat the Guardians, it did come out as confetti. So, that's actually pretty cool and awesome at the same time, I must admit though, right away. So, but either way, that pretty much takes care of the forms of one of those Guardians so far, for the sake of the forms of the 5th island in the game. So anyway though, in terms of the forms of the music you're going to be hearing in the background, well, it appears to be more accurately a whole bunch of musical tracks based off from the likes of the 32nd birthday for Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, there's actually quite a number of tracks they got for this particular birthday celebration treatment. Like, for instance, about the fact that, well, presumably, of course, that if you start the thing off from the beginning, or if you manage to boot up the game while you're in a birthday themed or anything, basically we get ourselves a small brief sound cue for the sake of the forms of quite a number of tracks, and the beginning portion contains Happy Birthday to You remix incarnation, so that's actually pretty swell. And after that, it appears to be by the forms of Collusion Chaos, the Japanese and the European version of Collusion Chaos soundtrack based off from Sonic CD, of course, which still is actually really dang good track, at least as far I've noticed something like this anyway. So, and after that, what appears to be by the forms of Walking based off from Knuckles Chaotix, which appears to be almost like a hub world area, well, if for those of you able to actually know what that music's from. And after that, it was Neo Green Hill Zone based off from Sonic Advance, specifically Act 1. So yeah, that's actually a pretty cool track to able to listen to, even on the GBA sound cue and stuff like that. And after that, what appears to be buddy forms of Set Lights Camera Action based off from Stereopolis Zone Act 1, based off from Sonic Mania, because obviously that is the most iconic music ever when it comes to Sonic Mania in mind. And after that, it appears to be buddy forms of number 1, based off from Sonic R, based off from the staff credits theme in Sonic R. So, but unfortunately though, about the fact that the most unfortunate thing about this is though, when it comes to the forms of the birthday theme soundtrack in mind, that it's all gonna go back all the way to the beginning of that particular music selection, sadly. So, oh well, because as you can tell about the fact that we're about to stumble across into the first cyberspace level in the, well, technically speaking though actually, about the fact that this is actually technically the 4th island to able to stumble across into those cyberspace transporters, because obviously they do not contain any of them during the course of the Ouranos Island, because obviously we have to shut down all the towers and stuff like that. And for those of you probably wondering what the level layout is actually based off from, obviously we're still going back into chemical plant environment, as you can tell. But if you pay attention to the actual level layout, this is obviously may look a bit familiar to you. This is obviously based off from Metal Harbor, based off from Sonic Adventure 2. Yeah, you know that one about the fact that you need to able to actually hurry this up before you die, because otherwise if you don't make it in nick of time while the rocket decides able to blast off, then obviously you lose a life, and also because it has the most stingiest A ranks to achieve for, you know, trying to able to go for 100% completion completely. So yeah, you probably get the gist of it. So anyway, so at the very least, we're actually doing not too bad, actually. Especially noticeable that we actually got all the red star rings, and oh, can I make it? Oh, that was actually super close. And no matter what though, oh, nice! 2 milliseconds a spare when it comes to able to achieving the S rank, because if I was a bit too slow on that part, gee, I have to able to replay that particular level twice. So okay, at least I did manage to able to complete all 4 of those missions on the first try, so that should be pretty awesome as far as I'm aware. So anyway though, the next track after this though, after number 1, Super Sonic R ending theme, or staff credits theme, what I meant to say. I apologize for my commentary, it's a bit slightly iffy at this point, because like I said before, it's been about 6 days ago since we've last played this. So, and exponentially speaking though about the fact that, well, I can't believe by saying this, is about the fact that we're actually getting almost very close towards the end of this game. I mean, sure, there are still some more content to be shown off, but either way though, that's besides the point. So, and also I love the fact that all these dash rings are actually replaced by the forms of different shapes, like the stars and the hearts. So yeah, you probably get the idea. Now I believe this is another enemy encounter we can able to face off against, and all you have to do is basically we need to keep on doing praying, because otherwise, if you don't pray at all, you're gonna get hit a lot. So, and as you can tell, we need to beat not 1, but 6 of these enemies right there. I'm not exactly sure what their names are though, mainly because, well, I haven't exactly looked upon that much of, oh jeez, I'm almost going to be dying. But anywho though, yeah, aside from all that stuff though, it's about the fact that there's not much else you can speak about in terms of the forms of news, updates, or anything else to be more specific. Although I do know for one thing is about the fact that, well, recently, during the forms of about, I would say yesterday or something like that, gee, it's been 10 years ago since Despicable Me 2 has first came out, you know, with the fact that it does contain the most famous music in that particular film, which appears to be Happy, and as a result, it still pops up even to this day, even on radio stations and all that stuff though, which, gee, I honestly have no idea why that music has now become popular these days now. Especially noticeable because, relatively speaking, that I still haven't seen Despicable Me 2 for a very long time. Especially the last time I actually seen Despicable Me 2 was actually in, I would say, in 2014 or something like that. Like, when we were able to actually see the DVD version of the film, and relatively speaking, though, that's all I could really say about it. So, but either way, though, that might be a topic for later time, especially noticeable where, I'm still very excited about the films of the Mario movie as finally gets its DVD and Blu-ray release, and especially noticeable about the fact that I'm presuming to you, I've only got about 20 days to go until the film finally came out on DVD and Blu-ray, and that'll be awesome, and yeah, as a die-hard Mario fan as well. So yeah, you probably get the gist of it, so... And also I just realized about the fact that we never actually stumbled across into a Titan so far for this island, potentially. Well, I would spoke too soon on this part, because obviously about the fact that I think something tells me that unlike the forms of how it doesn't on any other islands throughout the majority of Sonic Frontiers, that every time when you do collect the Chaos Emerald, or attempting to get the Chaos Emerald, we need to do the ridiculous amount of challenges ranging between Coco related and all that stuff. Something tells me about the fact that with every single Chaos Emeralds in the forms of this island in general, well, I'm pretty sure about the fact that they all locked in the actual Chaos Emerald vaults. So, yeah, that should be self-explanatory for this particular requirements as far as I'm aware. So, and I think something tells me with this also is about the fact that this is actually the final time we're going to be obtaining those Chaos Emeralds, because relatively speaking though about the fact that the entire journey is not over yet, especially because obviously we need to be able to still collect some more vault keys before we're able to do anything. And also I just realized about this is about the fact that there was actually a new update that it actually received something. Once you're able to select one of those islands you can able to revisit to, basically we have to do the ridiculous amount of collectibles we need to obtain. Like for instance about the fact that now there is actually a method that in addition about the fact that we actually stumbled across into ourselves these new selections of challenges known as action chain challenges, which I'll do those maybe for later time, mainly because about the fact that I think it's probably best able to do that for later time, especially because, my god, I believe there is actually a special collectible, or potentially speed the special unlockable you can able to obtain once you're able to get all the S rank on the forms of the action chain challenge. My god, it will take me a lot of attempts to do so, especially noticeable. It's a good thing I'm still playing the Switch version on my own time for a bit, just able to get a lot of practice on the forms of how the action chain reactions plays out. So, but either way though, and something tells me we've already stumbled across into this familiar enemy ever since in the previous island, so, but I digress. So, anyway, yeah, let's get back into the topic about the forms of what music they contains during the forms of that particular Sonic's birthday celebration musical track selections in one particular compilation as far as I'm aware. I've already mentioned quite a few music selection here and there, so as a result, what was the last thing I've mentioned? Oh yeah, number 1 based off from Sonic R credits theme, and after that what appears to be by the forms of Lovely Gate 3 for Egg Quarters, based off from Sonic Adventure 2, where you know about the fact you need to find all the keys as Rouge, so yeah, that will be something you might be familiar with for that specific time. And after that though, it appears to be Escape from a City Cash Cash Remix, based off from Sonic Generations for City Escape Act 1. So yeah, that's something I suppose. And after that, what appears to be out of nowhere, they contain one of the music based off from Sonic Free Riders, which appears to be by the forms of a theme of Rocky Road, I think is what it says anyway. So, but either way though, but at the moment, I'm only going to be taking on the next Guardian, as you can see. That's what appears to be Caterpillar. So I believe in order to able to take down this particular Guardian is about the fact that you need to obtain every single blue orbs. That's what he constantly summons. Don't touch the red orbs because otherwise you're gonna get hit. So as a result, when you get the hang of it though, especially noticeable as you can tell in the beginning portion of the fight, that we have to grind on rails and then able to actually touch the actual blue orbs. Once you're done with that, keep on attacking his back, and then once you've done quite enough damage on him, then you should able to take down the forms of Caterpillar like no sweat. So assuming of course about the fact that you still need to be strong enough to able to actually take him down within like no time flat. So although despite the fact that the actual borders, as you can see from the actual UI and stuff like that, almost covers up everything, so I might have to switch that off at some point whenever I decide to able to do post-game content here and there. So relatively speaking though about the fact that after all, we barely just got started with the forms of, well, the 5th and final island so far. So either way, so now let's go ahead and actually access the next cyberspace segment. So of course, we do need to get one portal gear. And then, you know, we pretty much expect about the fact that we've basically almost finished up everything for every single cyberspace levels, as I mentioned this before. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive right into this, and let's see what the level layout is going to be based off from this time. So assuming, of course, about the fact that sometimes the loading times might take a bit of a while to able to load things up. Oh, jeez, is this new? Well, I already know for one thing, we're going back into a city environment, and whoa, that almost kind of reminds me of the forms of one of those visual effects when the actual vehicles just travel faster more than ever. So even though it's a bit tricky to explain because, again, it's been 6 days ago since I played this, so especially concerning with the actual Let's Play in mind. So what's also about the forms of this month so far is that we once again tackling through, well, we still continue things on in Sonic Frontiers as of now, but then exponentially that we recently tackling through yet another Mario Let's Play, but this time with the very first RPG game we decided to tackle through. So, and exponentially we're most able to continue that fruition until mainly in the future, to able to tackle through the rest of the Mario RPG stuff in the future. Well, God knows when though, mainly because we're still in 2023 of course, so but either way though, chances are it can potentially make it happen I guess, so, but I digress. So, in the next track after that, which appears to be run through the speed highway, that's obviously based off from Sonic Adventure variant for the sake of Speed Highway, so pretty cool track choice whenever they managed able to include that on here. And the next track after that, it appears to be Plum Tree Panic, based off from the Japanese and the European soundtrack version of that particular stage. Now, despite the fact that maybe there's actually a separate music notes that we can able to attain it, so I've honestly have no idea why they managed able to include that. I'm guessing because, you know, the European and the Japanese soundtrack of Sonic CD is definitely a lot more popular compared to the forms of how it does on the North American soundtrack, but hey, at least I'm down for it. So anyways, and then the next track after that, I think this one appears to be based off from Tropical Coast, I would say an Act 2 variation or something like that, like you have to guide the fruits into the blender music, so I think that's what I was going to be thinking about anyway. So, and after that, what appears to be buddy forms of Metropolitan Highway, based off from Sonic Forces. Okay, I'm not exactly sure how that's going to be included, but okay. And the next track after that, what appears to be body forms of Strange Parade, based off from Sonic Runners. You know, with that particular game got delisted, thanks to the forms of that particular stupid gotcha moments, and on top of that, lesser amount of downloads compared to the forms of how it does it from most of any other Sonic app games, I'm presuming so anyway. Like, I know for one thing in mind, that, you know, Sonic Dash is still going to be extremely popular these days now, especially with all that new characters they're about to include, like including buddy forms of, you know, Super Shadow as well as Super Silver. Like, I know for a fact that Sonic Forces Speed Battle is still getting those characters as well, but either way though. The next track after that, what appears to be Legal Ruin, Back in Time, based off from Sonic R. So, the next track after that, what appears to be buddy forms of Tropical Resort Act 4, based off from Sonic Colors Ultimate Remix counterpart. So, okay. And after that, what appears to be Rooftop Run Act 1, based off from Sonic Generations. Alright, that seems like a pretty good choice for that particular classic variation of, you know, Rooftop Run in mind. And after that, what appears to be Grand Metropolis, based off from Sonic Heroes. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good choice. And finally, Speed of Sound, based off from Knuckles Chaotix in, Speed Slider Zone. So either way though, I must say, Speed of Sound is definitely the coolest track in terms of the forms of Knuckles Chaotix. So yeah, that's as far as I can say about the forms of the amount of music you're going to be hearing for the sake of the forms of the birthday celebration track, even though despite the fact that it's kind of hard to tell, because obviously about the fact that it's kind of annoying, where every time whenever you do manage to finish the actual cyberspace level, including every time when you do die, the music resets back to the beginning. So yeah, it's kind of a nuisance anyway, especially noticeable because, relatively speaking, I'm just very glad able to actually hear those good old music again, especially noticeable about the fact that, oh yeah, speaking of which though, is about the fact that I think, relatively speaking also, speaking of those music notes, I think they do manage to include more music notes that you can able to obtain from any place elsewhere. I'm guessing these are going to be based off from the likes of the forms of some portions of one of those islands in particular. So either way though, but hopefully we'll come across into those if we get into the bonus post-game content wise. So, but either way though, because again, sometimes it takes a bit of while to able to dive right into those things. So either way, let's go ahead and do this, and boom, there we go. We did somehow manage to solve this particular challenge completionist. So anyway, and there's another thing I should probably also mention about this as well, is that I stumbled across into a YouTuber called Star Strike, that he was really into My Little Pony stuff, and he stumbled across into the forms of the My Little Pony bootleg toys known as My Little Horse. And yeah, these are bootleg, alright. Especially noticeable about the fact that I stumbled across into this. I don't suppose if you noticed that one time I was actually in Cyprus, or actually kind of think about it, it was actually in not only in Cyprus during that time, but also in Turkey holiday vacations as well. Gee, there are a lot of bootlegs out there, especially noticeable about the fact that with all that, well, I've seen a couple of those My Little Pony merchandise, not only in Turkey, but also during the forms of in Cyprus as well. Like, the one noticeable thing, the cutie marks is actually a wrong placement. In addition to that, about the fact that, well, I can't really tell what the actual horses are named, or their pony names, because I know for a fact that they obviously contain wrong color, and it's just all over the place when it comes to bootleg stuff in mind. Although, yeah, it's kind of weird, especially noticeable because, well, relatively speaking, I've got no words to think about, so oh wow, exponentially I can able to now get the green chaos emeralds, because after all I got that one freebie vault key thanks to that particular treasure side loop that I somehow managed to activate for. So, as I mentioned this before about the fact that I don't think it's possible we can able to take on certain mission objectives for, you know, before you get the chaos emeralds for this time and go forth. So as a result, every single chaos emeralds are going to be locked in the actual vaults themselves. So yeah, and exponentially speaking, note that we do still need to collect about 6 of them, basically, so, but as far as the 7th and the final one, as far as I'm concerned, that'll be for later. So, but either way, it looks like we've made again with the actual Tetris puzzle challenge right here, ever since in Chaos Island. So, now I think there's actually going to be more Tetris challenges this time around in this island, and what makes things a bit difficult is that you have to judge the actual depth of it. So I'll try my best as soon as I can able to actually complete those as much as I can, but I highly doubt I don't know if I can able to do it on the first attempt, because I'm not exactly great at the actual Tetris challenges, as you can definitely tell. Because obviously, if I do somehow mess one part up, then obviously I'm gonna have to able to restart everything on this challenge. So yeah, and not only that, I've seen one of those images already, that, oh my god, whatever the heck has happened to the forms of, well, Applejack's legs? Like, I've seen one of those screenshots, and, gee, I've got no words to say, because, I don't know, it just comes out of nowhere. Like, I know for a fact that, well, relatively speaking, it's not an official or genuine figures or plushies for that matter, but still, it's just so bizarre. So anyway, along with the subject for this matter though, let's talk about the forms of one of those things came out to be. Like, for instance, about the fact that there's actually a new information just comes from the forms of Disney Speedstorm, and apparently it's going to be able to actually just try to guess about the fact that Gameloft has announced that the completion of the early access period for Disney Speedstorm, with the game pursuing its original plan, and it's going to be a free-to-play experience until on the 28th of September in this year. So yeah, that's self-explanatory, I suppose. Especially noticeable, maybe that it might contain microtransactions during that specific period. Well, it's hard to tell, honestly, because I know for a fact that it's been quite some time since I actually have last seen some recording or gameplay footage of the forms of Disney Speedstorm, because obviously about the fact that I'm still more into Mario Kart stuff. Like, I'm still waiting for the forms of Wave 5, as you can probably tell from the start. Especially noticeable because, well, we just have no idea when that's going to be releasing, because I know for a fact that we're now on July right now, so we can potentially try to guess about the fact that it could be potentially be on the middle portion of July, while we still pretty much gonna have to stuck around with the forms of Mario Kart Tour for the time being. Like, I know for a fact that it's kind of unfortunate, and it's kind of annoying to me though, that unfortunately though, I can't seem to able to actually get myself, let's just say in terms of the forms of some other content. Like, for instance, there is no way I can't get the Bonefin Mii Racing suits. Well, to be expected about the fact that the actual special skill item is pretty useless in my opinion, which all it gets is just a bubble and that's it, so it seems rather useless to me. Whilst unlike the forms of how it does it on the Lime Green Mii Racing suit, which, to be quite frank, I didn't seem able to get that Mii Racing suit either. Well, that's just because I recently got myself, you know, not only with Donkey Kong Gladiator suits, because he looks awesome, but in addition to that, I also got myself the Yoshi Mii Racing suit instead, because obviously I just want able to share Yoshi some bit of attention to, so, because you know, everyone loves Yoshi so much, myself included. Especially noticeable about the fact that it's been almost like 4 years ago since when you know, Yoshi's Crafted World has been came out on the Nintendo Switch. Even though some people complain about that game compared to the forms of how it does it in Yoshi's Woolly World, and some people seem to say maybe they'll potentially try to make Yoshi's Woolly World coming to the Switch at some point. Well, I must be quite frank at this point, guys, about the fact that it's kinda hard to tell when it comes to like 2024 and beyond. Like, we're still getting Luigi's Mansion 2 after all, so that's a huge plus in my book. Especially noticeable, we can finally able to do the rest of the Luigi's Mansion trilogy for once, rather than need to worry about the forms of investing the actual 3DS capturing device, I might add. So, but I digress. But there's also short things worth noting for is about the fact that there's actually a new game announcement from one of those third-party developers or something like that. And this time, what appears to be by the forms of a brand new Avatar game, not the likes of the forms of the realistic blue, you know what I'm saying. But ultimately speaking though, the animated Avatar game, as far as I'm aware, like Avatar The Last Airbender. Like, for instance, they are able to receive the game called Avatar The Last Airbender Quest for Balance, and it's going to be releasing at some point in this fall in 2023, so it should either be October or November or December depending on the forms of the time period. So hard to tell of when that's going to be releasing exactly. So as a result, it's usually been made by not only Unreal Engine, but also with the forms of other developers as well, like Game Mill Entertainment, Nickelodeon of course, and especially noticeable with the forms of Burn Tang, I think that's what it says anyway. Mind you, despite the fact that the logo is so tiny, like I can't even judge what the actual logo is actually says on here, so, oh well though. But aside from all that stuff though, there's not much else I can able to talk about. But aside from the fact that, in addition about the fact that when, you know, Ray the Flying Squirrel is now tackling through Super Mario RPG, because not only is going to be tackling for that, but also I'm also going to be playing Super Mario RPG as well, but on the different systems. Like, for instance, as far as what Ray the Flying Squirrel has mentioned this earlier, that the majority of the Let's Play is going to be played on the Wii U Virtual Console re-release version, even though the quality itself is pretty good, except with the forms of the lack of sound issues, which I know for a fact it seems awfully quiet at first, but relatively speaking though about the fact that recently I'm playing a game on my own time as well, thanks to the forms of the Super Nintendo Classic Mini. And as a result, I'm very excited able to actually finally get a chance to get a real pure experience, able to actually play Super Mario RPG before the actual Switch version is going to be approaching. So it might be the perfect opportunity if that particular time comes, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, we were expecting to able to actually also tackle for a Zelda game for this year, but ultimately speaking though, we haven't exactly done a single Zelda Let's Play for this year so far, because I know for a fact that we've already tackled 3 of them for the likes of in last year, which are A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, specifically on the Game Boy Color version, on the DX re-release, and of course the original Zelda 1, for able to actually redoing the actual the game itself, not only for its improvement quality, but also about the fact that with much more better commentary as well. So yeah, you probably get the gist of it. So, and there's the next Guardian that we're about to take on, and that's what appears to be Silver Hammer. So, yeah, it's like a white variation of the forms of a Tower Guardian, as well as the forms of the Red Pillar Guardian as well. And I think something tells me when it comes to the forms of other Guardians throughout the majority of this island, this is where it gets really tough, especially noticeable with his new attacks that he did manage to able to perform. In addition to that, there's a lot of things you do need to avoid at all costs. So it's definitely a little bit tough and difficult at the sake of time, so, but either way, but once you get the hang of it though, it's actually not too shabby when you get down with it, so, but I digress. So, another thing I should probably be pointing out right away is about the fact that I think, relatively speaking though, in terms of everything else I could possibly discuss at that one point, that basically is about the fact that we've decided able to actually go for, you know, to able to pre-order not only Pikmin 1, but also on Pikmin 2 on the Switch, all in one particular bundle package. Not just because of the forms of how, in fact, I'm curious to able to see what the differences are, but also about the fact that I just really love the actual just able to obtain different cover arts, and on top of that, with the different alterations with certain treasures in Pikmin 2. And on top of that, I can able to actually complete the entire Pikmin series in one system, so either way though, it's sort of hard for me to decide of should I sell the Wii versions of Pikmin 1 and 2. Well, I'm probably not going to do that, probably because I just want to able to keep the new Play Control series of games in my Wii game collection as far as I'm aware. Well, apart from one exception though, and that's what appears to be Chibi Robo, because it's Japanese exclusive, so, because ultimately we've already got almost every single new play control games onto your Nintendo Wii, with only one exception, like I mentioned earlier with Chibi Robo. So, generally speaking, that we've now got, you know, Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2, Mario Power Tennis, Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, and Metroid Prime 1 and 2, due to the forms of the Metroid Prime Trilogy compilation. So, that'll be a pretty cool price for that particular regards. So, despite the fact that, well, again, I apologize for my comment take is a bit slightly iffy at this point today, because there's not much else I can talk about, because, again, that it's nice to able to actually tackle through yet another Mario game after the events of Mario Super Sluggers, that we had decided to take a break on sports games for the time being, and focusing on a new genre. So, yeah, just to make things a little bit more interesting for our perspective-wise. So anyways, let's go and activate the next cyberspace transporter right here. So, and I think something tells me about the fact that in this particular island itself, that I'm pretty sure it actually contains more cyberspace segments in this particular island itself. Like, I think it actually contains like 9 of them, as opposed to the forms of 7 from the likes of the forms of the previous islands, I'm pretty sure anyway. So, but either way though, I think what I'm gonna do is that I'm also able to decide to do one more cyberspace level for the time being, and then next thing you know is about the fact that I just realized that we've never actually come across into a cutscene yet. I'm guessing mainly because about the fact that something tells me I still need able to collect those memory tokens, I'm pretty sure. Although speaking of the memory tokens though, if you couldn't tell, it's obviously the exactly the same memory tokens as you've already discovered since in Ouranos Island. The only difference is this time around though is about the fact that there's no Amy to be found during the forms of the actual, the current island we're going into. And on top of that, about the fact that there's only, one, thing we can able to have a chat with, and that's of course Sage herself. And because of that though, I don't think we can probably get corrupted anymore, because about the fact that thanks to our recovery, thanks to the forms of, not only Tails, but also with Knuckles and Amy, so thank you guys, I appreciate about that. Especially noticeable about the fact that, well, without them, then obviously it'll be, I'm pretty much deadlocked for likely trying to get progression or something, so. But, yeah, that's what I can really say about this, I guess. This particular stage is kind of tricky for the most part to me, though, because, well, on the other hand, I don't mind the forms of a lot of exploration when it comes to finding more of those red star rings in general, but I swear, trying to get the S rank on this particular stage can be a bit of a challenging task, at least to me anyway, so, but either way though. But again, I must admit though right away though is about the fact that hopefully we're able to get back on track for more of those uploading schedules alike, because as far as you probably already know, that it's still getting rather slow recently, especially noticeable with all that, a lot of distractions, and on top of that, just anything else in general. Like, I know for a fact that, well, as I said before, that we're currently playing through Super Mario RPG on 2 systems, potentially, that Ray's doing a Let's Play of on the Wii U version and on the Virtual Console re-release, and meanwhile for me, I'm playing on the game on the Super Nintendo Classic Mini with the official Super Nintendo controller, despite the fact that it might be a bit of a cumbersome to do so, because obviously as far as what Ray has already mentioned, that the game is all about isometric view, so there might be a couple of times though about the fact that maybe I should probably be able to fetch my Wii Classic Controller Pro with me, so that makes the entire experience a lot more easy to manage to me though. But either way though, I think I might as well do that after when I finish this recording, so that'll be my part of the plan, of course. That will potentially be my part of the plan, so. But I digress. So, yeah, that's what I can really talk about this for this point, guys. I mean, I would have liked able to explain something else for that matter though, but honestly guys, that's what I can really think about it, so. Oh yeah, I should also mention about this as well, I guess. I think maybe we're able to actually hear some information about the forms of the actual updated Switch sale numbers for the sake of the forms of not only for its hardware, but also with the forms of some software as well. Potentially speaking until maybe at some point until next month, in the beginning portion anyway, because I know for a fact that we're actually getting very, very, very close, almost towards the end of the forms of 2023 before we move on to 2024. Well, we still got ages and ages to able to actually mention something like this, especially noticeable because, you know, we're still on the 7th month after all, so, and thus we're still in summer as a result of that as well. So, either way, yeah, I'm still having some bit of troublesome at points when it comes to getting this godforsaken S rank right there. Especially noticeable, it doesn't help about the fact that, well, assuming of course if I somehow beat in the game once throughout the majority of the playthrough, and I think something tells me one of those unlockables will decide to come in. Like for instance about the fact that, oh jeez, I have no idea what the heck is going on for this point, so. And still, it's very annoying about the fact that every time when I was trying to boost, when I was trying to take care of those enemies, as you can tell, as I mentioned this before, it's been nerfed, you know? And exponentially as well is about the fact that maybe me and Ray, including Shadow, might able to watch the 3rd episode of Secret Invasion at some point until tomorrow. So yeah, that'll keep me and Ray a little bit more invested, especially concerning about that particular point where it's hard to explain. Because obviously that, again, I would have liked able to explain something else, but honestly, I'm pretty sure that Ray has already explained about quite a number of things thanks to the forms of Super Mario RPG. Oh yeah, speaking of which though, it's about the fact that we've recently discovered there's actually some new screenshots to somehow get published for the sake of the forms of Super Mario RPG on the Switch version. And my god, it looks a lot more faithful to the forms of how it does on the original Super Nintendo counterparts, like original character designs, as well as the forms of some amazing visuals And on top of that, with the forms that are really impressive art style, and everything else will be a super duper awesome time. Especially noticeable is a good thing it's going to be coming out in this holiday season, so yeah, about time to able to actually get something related to Mario during the forms of almost towards Christmas time, since Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, alongside with the forms of Mario Party Superstars, and also say applies with Super Mario 3D All-Stars, depending, at least assuming of course about the fact that unfortunately that game gets a limited release for physical runs and digital copies, and you probably name the rest, so... And I think that pretty much takes care of the forms of Cyberspace 4-4, so yeah, we're actually getting very close at this point, and I think something tells me we'll now have the ability to get the next Chaos Emerald, which appears to be the yellow color, so yeah, hopefully we're able to obtain that, presumably of course on the next video. So with that being said, we should probably end things off at this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Sonic Frontiers. Is that we're about to still continue exploring for the rest of the forms of our Ouranos Island to do multiple stuff here and there. So I'll see you guys until on Thursday. Later, fellas.